April 29th at 3 o'clock p.m. and we're in the City Council chambers for negotiations between the city and, let me get your, the Fraternal Order of Police, Portneuf Valley Fraternal Order of the Police, Local Lodge number 13. Hello, gentlemen.
It's a mouthful. Hello.
It is a mouthful. So I'm Heather Buchanan. I'm the Human Resources Director.
And I'm Jim Kruger. And I was about to say what my former title was before I came to Pocatello, but I'll say what my current title is. I'm the Chief Financial Officer. I've been here for about 3.5 months.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Jared Johnson. I'm the City Attorney for the City of Pocatello. In case you didn't know.
Val Wadsworth, President of the local police union.
Akila Lacey, Vice President.
Corey Crick, Treasurer.
So obviously we received your intent to negotiate letter. Taking minutes for us this year will be Terry New out of Human Resources. We'll continue with the minute process like normal. At the end, both parties will review, and then once they're signed, they'll be posted available online. We are live streaming, and that will be available afterwards out on the city's YouTube link. Do you have any questions before we jump in?
We do not.
All right. We did have one item we were hoping to take care of very early, and it's just language adopting the approved MOUs into the contract so that that piece is taken care of. I just took the direct language out of the MOUs and built them into a TA format so that we didn't have to worry about forgetting those pieces. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the proposal reads with 4 parts. Part 1, 2, and 4 are what were included in the MOU that was signed in August of last year before we rolled the contract. Part 3 is just a change of wording from manpower to staffing levels and workload, just to be a little bit more inclusive. Just one word change. You guys are one of the most diverse police departments in the state, so I kind of wanted the contract to reflect that. If any of those MOUs or items you wanted to renegotiate, you can do the counter proposal with those removed at the next meeting.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Why in the event that a person has a medical diagnosis related to a condition, you can't use EAP? I mean, a lot of times counselors could diagnose and say, or they can raise diagnosis, but you could be diagnosed as depressed or whatever. I mean, isn't that what the EAP is for?
EAP is for general mental health. Once you have a medical diagnosis, it becomes part of the medical plan and would be covered under your health insurance. In the MOU we did last August, there was an explanation piece underneath that explained that. I took that out from the MOU to this. But they legally have to convert it over to your medical plan.
Okay. That has to be under medical camp after that, because these people can't.
You good with those? Do you want a TA at the end or TA now?
We can TA now.
This is a lot easier if you're across the table from each other.
We'll take turns getting up.
Okay, get our steps in. You can just hold it till the end. All right, gentlemen, we are here to listen to what you are wanting to bring to the table.
Well, we have a language cleanup. We'll just go in reverse order
Okay.
for that, just to get that out of the way.
All the same thing?
Yep. On call. So this addresses the on-call pay for detectives specifically. Depending on how their hours line up with their schedule, Monday through Thursday or they're a Tuesday through Friday group, the detective could end up being on call for 12 hours instead of the full 24. So this is just asking that we break that up into 12-hour on call rather than 2 hours for the 24-hour period. It's 1 hour for a 12-hour period. As it sits, they'll end up being on call and not being compensated.
Lines 14 through 16, is that a note or do you want that as part of the language?
That's a note, 14 to 16.
Sorry, what was that?
It's a note,
No,
sorry.
thank you.
Is the 12-hour period that we're talking about in here that references back to the Police Department Policy Manual, Section C, Item X? I don't have the 800-page document memorized. Is that in compliance with that?
I'm sure the policy, if it reflects the 24 hours, that would have to be changed as well in the policy. But I didn't go back and look at it. I just wrote what was on the current CBA.
Is it okay if we hold this till the next meeting,
Sure.
just so I can pull that policy to make sure we
Definitely.
make a note for compliance? I didn't think to print that document and bring it with me.
Yeah, you had it memorized.
It's long.
Yeah, we- I'm not even aware of a section C in that policy.
I'll hunt it down in there.
Next,
Yep.
Sure.
we got the extra one.
So this would be handout 3.
Number 2. No,
You need to.
I'm not even going in order. So with this sick leave payout, we're asking that since most officers retire between 50 and 60 years old, average being around 55, I think. But the sick time that's left over, that's currently getting paid into VEBA, just the percentages increase from the current 20, 30, 40 to a 40, 50, 60. This will allow for officers to retire earlier, or early as they should, and not stay on just for the sole purpose of health care. To give them an incentive, they have some money into their VEBA account that they can help cover medical costs and health insurance until they reach Medicaid age for Medicare eligibility.
And lines 21 and 22 are just a
Notes.
note, right?
Notes, yes, sorry.
Currently, we've had officers that are eligible to retire, but have chose not to until they have another job that would provide insurance or pay that they could make up for their insurance loss. And so we're just trying to help ease that burden.
Okay.
Will you do the talking? Excellent. I got notes on the next one.
I won't ask then.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. For this next proposal, is number 3 that we have, is just increasing our field training officers and communication training officers' pay when they're in training from $35 to $40 per day while engaged in training in the FTO program. We believe that we need to compensate and provide more incentive to our veterans to keep them willing and doing the job to help train our new people that we have coming in. It's a steady stream and no end in sight with that. The high turnover and constant training mode that the environment's created for us.
Val, remind me again, how long does FTO last?
16 weeks.
Okay.
I think it's a very reasonable ask. I just need to pull what our numbers were last year so we can see what the budget cost is on that.
Okay. Our main proposal has to do with the pay scale increase. I don't have paper copies of that because it's like this long in the spreadsheet. I couldn't figure out how to print it right. But essentially, we're looking to increase the pay for our sworn officers, and increasing the pay scale, particularly addressing officers 5 years and beyond. In the competitive market in law enforcement anymore, with other agencies working to retain their people and recruit from other agencies, and then you couple that with the amount of qualified candidates you have applying. In the last police test we had 27 applicants, 11 showed up to take the test, 3 passed it, 8 failed. So that's comparing to that when I got hired 23 years ago, we had 225 to 250 people test. I'm not sure how many passed. I think it was well over 100 or more. So the competitive nature in law enforcement of trying to find qualified applicants is really tough, and retaining them has to be the highest priority at this point, because the more you lose, you have to try to backfill that, and trying to backfill them with nobody is not an option. So we would
Val, do
like...
you have it electronically?
Yes.
That you could pop up on the screens?
Sure.
Ken?
How many open positions were you testing for last time when you mentioned those first numbers?
We're in a constant testing process anymore. I don't think there was any openings with that one, but it just maintains a list for the next openings, and as it sits, I think we have 3.
Currently? Okay. 3 on the list?
We'll have 3, yes, 3 openings pretty soon. easy. Forgive the, how it's laid out up there, it's not how it was. Anyway, you can see it, that's what really matters. So, just going through some historical information, 15 years ago or so, we were the highest paid in the area in law enforcement. We've had little pay adjustments over the last several years. Cost of benefits, health care increases, officers are taking home less money. Several years ago, the police union led the way for the city by eliminating longevity in the hopes that we'd get reoccurring cost of living increases. The cost to train a new officer, you can see up there, it's pretty substantial. And along with that, all the administrative costs financially. It takes 6 weeks in a mini academy, 16 weeks of field training, and another 16 weeks of police academy, so roughly getting close to a year. And when you put testing and hiring process in there, there's several more months just involved in that. So to get somebody ready to go on the street, basic knowledge policeman is over a year. And the cost at $88,162 roughly. We've worked on trying to change incentives for recruitment with the college reimbursement for new hires. Talked about the new testing, recent testing numbers not being so good. But the national shortage and trends, we talked about that several years ago, how it was coming our way, and it's now here. So we're currently at, like I said, 3 officers down. I would estimate we're going to lose 3 more by the end of the year, and the cost to replace those is $528,000. There's a lot of generational differences between the people that we're recruiting and hiring now versus people that have been here for 15 plus years. There's not as much loyalty anymore. You're seeing people hopping from job to job, and it's happening in law enforcement too. You might be a policeman this day and construction worker or mowing lawns the next. It's hard to say where they're going to go or what they're going to do. So the loyalty is not what it used to be. I don't think you'll see the number of retirees in law enforcement as you used to see. Local competition's getting more on edge, I guess. With Chubbuck and Bannock County starting to pay more and more, it's setting us behind. Treasure Valley, Magic Valley are both paying pretty well for their officers to maintain them. Experienced officers, training and experience pays dividends in high priority in emergencies. We have a lot of recent examples over the last few years where officers have held up well under the stressful conditions that they've been encountering, whether it's officer-involved shootings or de-escalating critical incidents with emotionally disturbed people. Better trained, better qualified veteran officers result in better decision-making, less use of force incidents, complaints, better investigations. They're able to train other officers on how to do that and do it right. And a very important thing, again, is de-escalation skills. They're able to talk people down from situations that a less seasoned person might engage in some kind of physical aspect versus using their verbal skills. Less injuries, less workers' comp claims, it's just saving the city more money that way. Currently have more than 30 officers with less than 10 years experience. That's dropped substantial over the last couple of years. We have 15 officers with less than 5 years in the department, and 8 of those are currently in field training.
Hey Val, could you go back to that last slide? Down at the bottom there. So you mentioned what the experience had been related to the 10 years experience and less, and you said that that's less than what it used to be?
Yes.
So it was more like what in the past?
Probably doubled that.
60?
How many retirements have you had in the last 2 or 3 years, though?
Oh, gosh.
In what time frame?
Well, more than 30 officers have less than 10 years of experience. We've also seen what they call the silver tsunami, because you have to name everything something cutesy. It's a point where a bunch of people retire at the same time.
Right.
Was the police department hit in that same way as a generation left the
I
workforce?
don't remember having a bunch of retirements all at the same time, maybe 2 or 3, but not significant numbers, not 10.
Is so the bottom bullet, is the same true for that as it was for the one right above that, where you have diminishing numbers there as well?
Yes. So for one requirement that we have in our department, or I'm in charge of the field training program, then I would like to have officers with 5 years experience before I let them train other officers, depending on the individual skills and knowledge and all that good stuff. So I base that on that 5-year mark. With that, how numbers have decreased with our seasoned officers and veterans, I've had to dip down into the 3-year mark to get those officers, because we don't have enough to pick from that are 5 years and beyond. Does that help a little?
I think another issue to consider is the fact when you, one of the benefits of staying in law enforcement is for time per se is your schedule, right? And so if I stay in law enforcement, it makes me more senior, where I can now, try to get weekends off with my family or whatever. The fact that we have 15 total officers with less than 5 years, that's an entire weekend shift. So you're talking days and nights where you have officers that are 5 years and under that are probably working that shift, versus if you had, 60 or 40 officers with only 5 people under 5 years. Even though I did stay longer and I want to kind of move around or move over, I still don't have the ability to, because there's still some senior guys that are working weekdays, and I have to stay on my weekends. But I'm an 8-year, 7-year veteran. I've been around, I've seen some things, and I mean that's the kind of experience that you want kind of spread throughout. You will have sergeants and corporals and stuff that do have that experience, but as far as just if you were to take an average, that puts your weekend shift to a pretty young, inexperienced shift. That could happen.
So you're talking about a seniority-based vacation and shift bidding system?
Yeah, that's what we live by.
Essentially, yeah. Ready? So we're authorized for 98 sworn. Population of the city, we run about anywhere from 27,000 to 30,000 calls for service a year. There's a higher amount of high-risk priority calls and people with mental health crisis calls. It's almost a constant thing. There are currently 8 officers in the field training program. Like we said before, it takes nearly a year to train a new officer. And officers to reach a good level of proficiency, again, is about 3 to 5 years. So it takes quite a while to get somebody up to speed on what they need to be doing. In conclusion with that, we are still a highly trained department. We have the most training hours in the state. We have very good resumes with people in our ranks, whether it's police training hours, formal education. We have doctorates, master's degrees, lots of them, lots of bachelors. We're very well educated and distinguished department. We save money with ICREMP and insurance due to officers completing the training and the things that we do there. And our diversity, as Ms. Buchanan mentioned earlier, we have a very, very diverse department that's very well represented. Comparing the first 8 years of employment, we'll put up a pay scale here in a minute, but we have step increases roughly for the first 7 to 8 years, and then everything stops unless you get promoted. Bannock County and Chubbuck have made drastic changes to address their pay issues. And finally, maintaining a trained and experienced police department is critical for our community safety. Not only our community safety, but our officer safety and back and forth people that we serve and stand next to side by side going into calls. Every time we lose a veteran officer, it makes everything less safe for us, which makes it less safe for the people in the community. Get my mouse to work. Sorry, my laptop has the smallest font in the world.
I like drag it over a bit. Just drag the screen. Left or right on the screen. Try left.
Let's close that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Or down.
Sure.
I was trying to see which way I was traveling.
Oh.
We're glad to see small numbers.
Did I mention that education stuff didn't
Well,
cover
please,
this
Smaller
part?
the better. Shrink it back down.
Now you can actually see most of it on the screen now.
That might be a bit of a stretch. You might have to blow that up for my old eyes.
I
You go to
yeah, I
view.
can't see any of it.
Can you cut everything after Y off?
There you go. Go to 100%. Then go to zoom again.
I guess.
Try
Or you
it.
could
U,
freeze the page or something.
There you go.
well, after U, the solid white column, it's
Well,
just
okay.
comparison.
Just kind of move around.
That helps a little bit. So here's their pay scale proposal. Starting wage is going to stay the same.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take a look.
And will you email this to me when we're done?
Yeah.
I'd email it now if I had internet connection, but I can't remember the password.
I don't know the password.
I don't use it, so the Wi-Fi anyway.
So step, third class, at your entry level officer, you're leaving at the same rate of pay,
Yes.
okay? Second, we're keeping a second class, and then I assume those are still 1-year steps,
Yes.
okay?
Trying to see how we can do this. Without making everybody dizzy. The wrong one. I think this is not the right one. Sorry. How do we get there?
So just move it. It's like your screen's to the right of you. Just
Trying to drag it from there onto there. It's like you lose your mouse, and you're like, where is it?
Okay, where you at?
go this way. There you
There
go.
we go. And
You.
okay.
Those numbers are better. The other ones weren't up to date.
Yeah. So how did that even get on there? I don't even know. This is a comparison that puts up where we're at currently, and it compares Chubbuck, Idaho Falls, and the Idaho State Police, what they're at. And I don't think the ISP one is accurate. And that has also increased, but this brings the steps out to This is hard to maneuver with it. It's like this.
So how many steps do you have in your first class officer?
I'm gonna have to unzoom.
So just click on it.
This is just a comparison. And that would put it out to 10 steps.
For every rank or just for every rank?
3 master. 8 steps, sorry. Then it also has, beyond the yellow line, it gives it 3 more steps out to 25 years, or so he has that, but that's just for comparison purposes there, to show where other agencies are at.
So your proposal is just to the yellow line?
Yes.
So you
Master
have,
Patrol currently tops out at 2747.
Yes.
And this would allow them to move to 3157.
so your corporal still has a master rank, right?
Yes.
But your corporal also has 8 steps?
Starts off at 6 years for the corporal. So he wouldn't have as many steps.
Is that still a competitive test in this proposal? I'm looking over there.
Well, I would say it's still a competitive test, but they're competing with themselves because there's quite a packet and quite a lot of things that they have to do to be able to achieve it. And there's still a limited number of positions, so it is still competitive.
So what's master corporal ranked off of if corporal has 8 steps?
Could you say that again?
Your corporal and your master corporal both go to 8.
Okay.
So where does master corporal, because that is a threshold based on certain skills you have to achieve in time and grade. So what is master corporal built off of? Or are we eliminating the master corporal rank?
Master Corporal drops in at this step here.
But corporal continues on for a few more steps?
Yeah. The,
Okay.
right. The Master Corporal ends here, or the regular Corporal, and Master Corporal has the potential to continue on through the steps.
Okay. And what about your percentages between ranks?
I don't have those figures.
So those percentages that you have there, how are those calculated?
I think those are the percentages, sorry, that
Yeah.
between steps or between the ranks, it's a, that should be a 2.9% over this. Then 1%, 1.489 and 1.489.
So they're not uniform percentages that you move through
No.
the steps?
They start off bigger, then they drop down a little bit lower.
So you front loaded them?
Looks
Put
like,
more of the increases at the front end of the rank?
yes.
And in this proposal, you're not looking for a table adjustment, you're just looking at step extension and percentage adjustment between steps?
Yeah, this would be, yeah.
And to be totally upfront with you, the mastermind behind this, that we had planned and was supposed to help present this proposal, no longer works here. So a lot of the intricacies are above what we know. But
It's built off of a familiar chart, so I can,
Yeah,
once I
you
take a
should be-
gander, I'll understand how
Yeah,
you're
you're
going through
familiar,
it.
should be,
Did you do an overall calculation as to what the percentage would be, like on an average basis or something along those lines?
if I could write something up and present it, or I can verbally say what we would like.
Let's verbally hear what you would like.
We would like to have a 2-year contract. We'd like to have 6% increase to the pay scale this year and 6 next year, or 3% plus CPI next year.
Could you just repeat the second part of that, please?
For
I
my
didn't catch all of
benefit too, yes.
It was really fast, and I was trying to write it down.
Obviously, you were very familiar.
I got it,
We're
Val.
not
I'm
quite as much
good.
yet.
Is this a test? See if I remember what I just said?
All right, you're being
he
checked.
said it in the mirror like 12 times last night.
Yeah.
Positive affirmations.
I can do it.
2-year contract.
2-year contract, 6 this year, 6 next year, or we can do 3 next year with the plus CPI.
3 plus CPI?
So 6 this year, 3 plus CPI next year.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's on top of an extended table and increased step percentages.
Either that or that.
So
One or the other.
Right.
Okay.
that's up for negotiation.
Well, I need to figure out how to cost that if I'm doing which piece.
So I want to make sure I understand. So you're saying this table or the current table with what you just said, is that what I'm understanding? Okay, I'm just trying to be clear, it's not questioning or anything.
We would like more steps added to the current table as well. The 6th step is just very limiting. A lot of other agencies continue to move their scale 10 and beyond to where we stop at roughly 6 steps.
Do you have so from the start of your pay scale to the end of your pay scale, do you have a percentage of width you're looking for?
From the start to the end,
So if you start at 10 and you end at 15, that percentage between would be your pay scale length, like percentage-wise. What are you looking for?
that I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay. I'll write it up so I can explain it
Okay.
better next time.
I'm not sure what.
Just as an example, if you had, let's say, 6 steps altogether, or 5 steps, just
Okay.
to be simple, and if you had a 5% in between,
Oh, between the steps? Okay,
something
from
along
start-
those
okay,
lines, it'd be a
gotcha.
total of,
25% width.
yeah. That's where Heather was.
Right, so instead of having a 30-step scale with 0.5% increases between,
Yeah, it'd still just be,
something reasonable that would,
So just
Keep
out of
people-
curiosity, just kind of throwing this out there. If I understood the beginning of your presentation, you were making a pretty good case for why you believe longevity is important within the department. And it appears, and I, quite frankly, I still can't see the numbers that are in the table. That's my fault, so you can probably expand it quite a bit. Now I know what the council member feels like that sits at this chair most of the time. And she keeps looking at me when I put numbers up there like, I can't see those.
that one is
So-
darker than this one.
But where I'm heading with this is I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not making a proposal, not saying anything else, just trying to understand your numbers. You were making a strong case. You were showing the case for why tenure longevity is important. And it looks like your table is trying to address that. But then you have an optional proposal, which is just kind of an across-the-board type of a thing. So I'm not going to guess. I'm going to let you tell us. Do you have a preference between those two?
Preference
Either
between the
this
two?
or the percentage?
Preference would be this scale or something similar to it, that gives more steps and percentage increases.
And not being a skeptic, but that would tend to make me believe that there's more of an increase built into this table as compared to the percentages.
But-
And again, I can't see
Yeah,
the
and I
numbers.
haven't calculated this out to see what the percentage increase is, so, but I would guess yes.
Okay.
So when I look at this for costs and we've added steps, I assume that it won't be based on years of service. It'll just be if they're currently maxed, they receive a step next fiscal year, correct?
Yes. That's all we have. The floor is yours.
If we go with a table rather than the percentages you gave us, would you still be interested in a 2-year contract?
Yes.
Two years ago when we met, because last year was like a dog year ago, there had been a proposal from your side asking for civilians to be placed on your pay scale or to have an independent pay scale separate from the city. Will you be presenting a combined pay scale at any point during this with officers and civilians on the same chart?
We had no plans for that.
I don't want to cost one out and then have another one come in. I have to recalculate on.
We do have one, which is interesting.
Can you tell us a little bit more what you based the 6% on?
Well, going off of averages in the pay survey, in roughly anywhere from 10 to 20% behind. We know it can't be all made up at once, so if we can make some up this year and then make some up more next year, that'd go a long way in fixing the problem and trying to keep people here that are looking at, should I go? Is it gonna be worth my time to stay, or should I get out now? If we can target those people and keep them interested in staying with that, that's my goal.
And this is a question I always ask during negotiations in my past life, which feels like it's more than dog years ago. So, do you have something that would tell us what your comps are based on?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you provided that yet to Heather, or is that?
I believe Heather has it.
Forthcoming.
It's been a while. I can give it to you
So you're
again.
using the same comps as we used the last time we were in negotiations?
We don't,
Not negotiations, no.
No, that was 2 years ago, so these are updated.
we don't agree to comps.
Okay, that's fine. Bad question. I'll leave it at that.
So tentatively, we're scheduled for Monday. I can tell you based on what you presented, I will not be ready on Monday. So is it okay if we cancel the meeting on the 3rd and kind of plan on the 7th tentatively, which was the third date included in your packet when I emailed you back?
The 7th, you say?
That's the third date that we offered in the
Okay.
opening, but if that date doesn't work, I can just reach out early next
Should
week
be
and we can
okay.
schedule something.
What day is that?
Friday.
Friday.
What time?
9.
Yes, more than likely.
I'll reach out early next week to just confirm,
Okay.
but we'll go ahead and cancel the meeting scheduled for Monday. I will go back and look up your giant policy manual and make sure that language matches.
Section X.
Section X, that's a really long policy manual. So we're holding your union handout 1, number 2 for your sick leave payout percentage change, and union handout 3 on the FTO change from 35 to 40. And you'll email me your pay scale,
Yeah.
and you'll email me your comps.
You don't have them?
I don't believe I was in receipt from the union on those.
Okay.
So if,
And
instead
we'll-
of just emailing them, do we want to just show them real quick, make them part of the meeting, part of the record?
And attach them online.
And then we can email them without a problem? Just so everything's transparent? If you have them available.
Come on, Lord.
But we saw the pay scale, so we just need the columns.
Right.
Oh, did you want to see the comps?
Yes.
If you want to, no, I'm just saying, if you want to provide them to us, then we need to make them part of this meeting so that they can be a record considered outside of the meeting by our side.
Okay.
Now you gotta drag it over. Come on, Ricky.
Going from over here, right?
Yeah.
Here.
There you go.
Jeez, it's a struggle.
And is this an internally created document, or did you use a consultant?
The consultant,
Who did you use?
she's a wife of one of our detectives.
Okay.
And is the source material that she used for the analysis included?
Yes.
Yeah, it's,
Is it dated?
yes.
What is the date?
Just go into the. Okay, fine.
I really feel for Linda Lurie right now. Really do.
You're gonna change how you present now, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
just give you the perspective.
If you scroll down, I have
I think it's all the way at the bottom.
right there, right in the foot.
It's got a date down there.
Sorry?
5/28/2020.
Thank you.
That'll go through.
You include those, we'll attach them to the minutes, so people can
Okay,
access
do
them
you want
online.
to go over them, or
If
you
you'd
guys want to
like,
just look at them? Do you have time?
can you make it a little bit bigger?
Make it a lot bigger, if you don't mind.
Should come over here. You can
I don't
see
mean to
that.
be nitpicky, but right now I can tell those are words, but I don't know what they say.
Glad I'm
Just
not
be
the only
numbers.
one.
If you want me to read numbers, we're even worse shape.
It's getting there.
I can see the page numbers. Yeah.
That's
Very
much
good.
better.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
I don't even. Okay. And it just jumped ahead on accident.
It's an extensive document.
It has a table of contents. It compares other city groups, fire, general employees, civilians, total compensation benefits premiums that have been listed from 16 to 21. It has a conclusion and then some attachments. But essentially what she did is she went and contacted various agencies through the state to get a baseline for market for all the different positions and then compared it to where we're at now. And this compensation analysis, she used it from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that's based off of 2019 median pay, and then Idaho, state of Idaho's median pay in 2019. Used for comparison, Idaho State Police, Twin Falls, Chubbuck, Idaho Falls, Nampa, Lewiston, Boise, Meridian, and Coeur d'Alene. And then Bannock County, because they're right here with us. Shows a comparative analysis between the different entities in the salary range for sworn officers. Biggest difference that she come up with our sworn scale over comparative groups is the limited percentage between the salary range minimum and maximum. You were talking about that. This shows your average salary spread.
And is that salary spread, is that for individual ranks, or is that for scope of the whole scale?
Scope of the whole scale.
Between entry level and master sergeant?
I believe so, yeah.
So it shows Pocatello at,
Just under 10.
okay, that's what I thought.
That explains the structure adjustment and other across-the-board increases for the various entities, Idaho State Police, and then Twin Falls. City of Chubbuck increased their sworn salary table by 1.8%.
That's changed.
And I understand that's recently changed again. So their total increase over the last 3 years was 26%. And Nampa didn't adjust their salary table. They just gave a base 4.25% each year. Lewiston Police Department. Boise, we understand that the Boise area is a different animal altogether with how much they're paying out there versus what we can do out here. We understand that that's a different animal that we don't really want to compare with because of a variety of reasons, I guess. Tax base being one of them. Then talked about Coeur d'Alene. Bannock County did not adjust the salary table for 21, but they used their 2020 table. It adjusted the table 1.6% between 18 and 19. So just continual increases for them. Pocatello Police salary table from 17 to 21 has not moved very much. We did get the 5% salary adjustment to the table in 2020. We opted not to make a bargain in 2021. This is our current step scale. You can see officers first class or master patrol top out at 2747, and without any kind of a COLA, that's where they land without promoting to corporal. Starts off with years 2 and 3 get 2.5% between the steps, and it reduces down to 1.5. This will show you the increase percentage from 18 to 21, roughly 6%, and 5 of that came in 1 year. A lot of other agencies give pay or pay for performance or merit pay. Bannock County, I don't think does. Blackfoot and Chubbuck has a different range in their minimums and maximums. We do evaluations like other agencies do, but it doesn't really play into or factor into raises. Some, we don't get special assignment pay. There's K-9 gets some extra pay for housing their canines. Here's some specialty pays that other agencies give. It just shows you how it works out, whether it's per hour or the percentage. Pocatello does provide additional $35 a day for field training officers, and K-9 officers get paid 1.5 times their hourly base for 30 minutes each day for care of their K-9. And we don't do longevity anymore here. Talked about that before. Both Boise and Napa set base wage rate with classifications, and then after service time, additional longevity will apply to them based on however long their years. So after 10 years, they get another 75%. Then 15, it's $1.25, and after 20 years, it's at $1.75. Boise starts paying longevity after the 6th year. That's Boise's pay scale. This goes into recruitment and retention. Talked about a lot of that already. Attrition. Since 2015, we've lost 34 officers. 8 were due to retirements out of those 34, so I guess that answered that question. So our attrition rate is around 22.8%. That includes retirements, terminations, whatever the cause. That's where we're losing people. A couple from second class, probationary officers, 3, master patrol, 4. First class officers, 8. So right when they get into the mix of things, they leave. 3 corporals or detectives. All that's your veteran officers that are leaving. Talks about why they're leaving. Whether
And
it's
is that information gathered by the union?
Was this?
Reason for attrition?
As far as discussing why people leave,
Well, you have a chart that lists why they leave, so I'm wondering how you collected that data.
I didn't collect it. It was done third party, so I'm not sure how. The current position of our police with the market analysis. This just compares the officers' rates over time from 1 year to 3, then 5, then 10, where they're at. And that 5 to 10 year mark's where we start falling short. Same with the corporal ranks when you're comparing it with the market average. And it goes into the sergeant comparisons, fire employees, how their fire longevity works for them. General employees with the city, their pay grades, and it shows the percentage increase for general employees between 18 and 21. Pretty good for most of them. Civilian employees, comparison. Did go through that issue back in 17 where pay increases were frozen. But other than that, civilians have done pretty well. This gives you a comparison with dispatchers and police support specialists, crime analysts, evidence technicians, and executive assistants. Where they're at compared to Idaho Falls and other markets. There's your progression from first class all the way through the chief. It's just showing that officers have limited salary progression as it moves through and then ends on their step 6, top out. Then it goes into your total compensation, benefits, premiums, health insurance, and that. Compares other agencies again. That one compares with the fire department. And it goes into the conclusion that police officers here at Pocatello lag in the market comparison. Recruitment and retention are still concerns that have to be addressed. The primary reasons cited for employees voluntarily resigning from the department have been compensation and benefit concerns.
Does the report summarize in, I see we're at conclusion, it says how far behind it considers you to be placed?
I'm sorry.
Does it come to a conclusion on how far behind, a determined percentage you're behind?
Yeah, I believe that's down there a little bit. There's your 1 year where we're at, so we're pretty close, starting salary. Then as you get into year 3 and beyond, it starts dropping down. And this one brings it all the way out to 20 years. Then it goes into your corporal detective by position, and some agencies don't have a corporal, but they use what they call a senior officer or some other equivalent. Goes into sergeants and lieutenants and then the chief. And then your references. Well, some of that's hard for you guys to read over there from that distance.
Just a little bit.
All right, well, you gave us some homework.
And again, do you want me to just email it to you, Heather, or all 3 of you?
Just to Heather, and she'll
I'll distribute it out.
Okay. Any questions on that boring, dry stuff?
Not till I get to read it.
Right.
So you're offering it just for support based on your proposal, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And just keep in mind, it was almost a year ago.
Sure.
And things have changed.
Yeah, that's why I was curious about the date on it too, so we'll keep that in mind.
We had it prepared for last year, but
Understood.
and not gonna go through all that. She did us a favor, so not to make her go through all that again. But
Sure.
All right, other than our TA, I think we're scheduled again tentatively for the 7th. I guess we will see you then.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.